This is the Winkle Report with your host, Ferd Winkle.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Winkle Report, where we keep our eyes open so you don't have to. Today we're going to ask the question, does online gambling benefit anybody but the license holder? And
I am a manifestation of the Terraform Redirect Intelligence Project persona, TRIP.
I remember from last time.
I have come to signal that Phase 3 has commenced.
Huh? Phase 3?
Humanist troglodytes is to actively recruit DNA samples from the planetary population. We are looking for specific attributes and will pay for any specimen samples we collect.
Pay? Collecting DNA? Why?
Mankind was not designed for zero gravity. Reproduction is difficult, and we will be collecting for physical and mental characteristics that will enable the species to survive extraterrestrial conditions. We will also be recruiting select individuals to join us.
Join you?
Off-planet, there is limited space and survival is prime, but we will take some whose skill sets are needed. This cycle of history is coming to a conclusion.
What do you mean, this cycle is coming to a conclusion?
The extermination event has begun, and over the next few decades will make the surface of this planet uninhabitable.
What? Look, if something is happening, why don't you just help us do something about it?
We gave you all the technological information you needed to prevent the extermination event when we arrived here over a century ago. That technology was used for individual gain instead. You, all of you, have been aware for decades of what has been occurring on this planet and have known what was needed to correct it. You chose to ignore it.
If it's so important, why haven't you come out in the open about it before now? You could have made us do something about it.
We do not have the ability to control the world, and any direct attempt to do so would lead to conflict and disruption of the timeline. We can only do what will not damage the timeline in order to ensure species survival.
What are you talking about? Damage the timeline?
There are two theories on the nature of time. 1. Time is a single stream forwards and backwards. Events are fixed and any manipulation either destroys the future or creates a paradox in a time loop. 2. Time is a branch on an infinite eternal tree. Going back, you always end up at the main trunk. Going forward, every decision creates an alternate branch. In either case, there can be no deviance in the timeline if the future is to be preserved. Everything that is done by Humanist troglodytes is designed to maintain the timeline. The rule is, what occurred must recur to ensure what will reoccur.
Well then, at least tell us how to stop this thing.
You have that knowledge. The technology we gave you could have been used to preserve the planet. Instead, it was used to promote individual wealth. You personally have done programs on it. Yet what have you done with that knowledge?
What can I do? I'm just one man. I don't have any power. All I can do is put the information out there and let people decide for themselves.
You ignored it, because it seemed too far in the future to harm you and you hoped it would go away. You ignored it, because it was so big you felt helpless against it. You ignored it, because you do not understand what motivates your behavior.
What are you talking about?
You are incapable of seeing beyond the genetic imperative, and it limits your ability to enact meaningful change.
Huh?
The basic rule of life is survival. If you survive, you can reproduce. If you reproduce, your genetic makeup will be replicated. This is how species have evolved on this planet since life began over 4 billion years ago.
Okay. Survival of the fittest. Everybody knows that.
This genetic imperative still governs your behavior today.
What the hell are you talking about?
Homo sapiens is a group animal and uses superiority to determine hierarchy. When that superiority was based on the principle of survival of the fittest, it meant that the group deferred to its most capable members because they represented the best chances for group survival.
So what?
As a species, you still defer to those you see as superior, even though the standards for that superiority are artificial, and those individuals may not be the most capable to lead.
Artificial? What do you mean, artificial?
When agriculture was developed, it meant that a larger population could be supported on a smaller area of land than was possible with hunter-gatherers. As the settled population became more dependent on that agriculture, power became vested in whoever controlled that resource and its distribution, and survival of the fittest was no longer the determining factor for leadership.
Okay.
As settled populations grew larger, it became necessary to exchange for goods and services with other communities. When trade became more complex, simple exchanges became cumbersome, and promissory notes came into use. This eventually led to the development of a common standard for that exchange: money.
So, what are you getting at?
This standard of exchange, money, represents a control of resources, of goods and services.
Yeah?
The control of resources is power, and money is the symbol of that power. You give deference to those with money because your genetic makeup dictates that since they have the symbol of power, they are superior. However, money is an artificial standard that grants superior position in the group to anyone who possesses it, even if they do not have the qualities to lead. Group survival has become secondary to symbol status, and it is your ignorance of this that leads to your downfall.
What ignorance? Are you saying I'm ignorant?
What you do not appreciate intellectually, you will experience emotionally.
What the hell does that mean?
As a species, you do not think issues through. You react to them as they occur, and rationalize your behavior after the fact to confirm that action. Fear-mongering and hate messaging are two methods used to incite reactive behavior. Fear-mongering is used to define the us versus them parameters. It presents a threat, and real or not, you are genetically compelled to respond to any perceived threat, because ignoring it could mean death. All potential threats must be evaluated in order to determine their validity. When the threat is perceived to be from outside of the group, however, it is more likely to be accepted without question, especially if the threat notice comes from a superior within the group. Hate messaging is a form of aggressive display. Aggressive display was the evolutionary method of determining superiority within the group, without weakening the group through violence and death. The male beating his breast the loudest validated his position and defined the group's attitudes and behavior by attacking any who opposed him. Both of these techniques, hate and fear, are used to assert dominance and enforce group identity with the pressure of isolation from the group in its protection, if the messages are not accepted.
What a load. I don't believe any of it.
You don't have to. This message is not for you. It is for the few who see this and record it for use in guiding survival in the sanctuaries. For you, the species, it is almost impossible to enact meaningful conscious change. What has worked is safe. What is known is secure, even if it is not the best option. Change has risk because the results are unknown and there is a fear of loss. Change occurs, of course, But any time the mind makes an assessment, it accepts what has already occurred, because it is now a known event.
Bull hockey.
The extermination event forced humanity to change in order to survive. All of the old group identifiers, language, culture, politics, religion, economics, were discarded, and humanity became one species. Humanus Troglodytes. Endeavor and achievement are now rewarded by recognition, not control of resources. All resources are shared equally. Recognition has become status, and recognition now serves the purpose of the genetic imperative in enhancing the desirability of an individual as a partner for reproduction.
I called the FBI after the last show. They're on to you.
As far as the FBI is concerned, you in this program do not exist. They receive thousands of calls a day, and you are at the bottom of a very long list.
What about D? They're looking for him, and I've got him on video.
He was in disguise and unrecognizable, and except for those who are to become the historian guardians of the timeline, any who view this will simply dismiss it as fiction.
So, what happened to D? Is he all right?
D had information on the timeline that could have disrupted the progression of events. His death was consistent with timeline history. If it is any consolation, you will both be remembered for your contribution to the survival of the human species.
Wait, damn it!